We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Monday. We're starting out yet another week. This week, we're starting out apparently at war with Iran. And I was waiting to hear from Will because I know Will would be pretty fired up about this. He's pretty passionate about things. So, Will, welcome back to the show. And it's certainly not like we don't have plenty to fucking talk about given the circumstances.
Yeah, Mike, it's been an interesting wow. I just don't know what to say. I mean, after it happened, I went live and everyone in the usual crew showed up and we were commiserating, but at the end we're just sitting there going, what the fuck just happened? We were watching the president Trump's address. I didn't have the sound on, but I was watching him and I'm looking at him going, my God, that man don't look good.
No,
He
he
doesn't
doesn't
look
look
good.
good. And he sounded like he was out of wind. He was out of
Yeah.
breath. And he was trying to talk in real jagged ways. And he was trying to
Mhm.
catch his breath. And he said, and we love God. And it was just very awkward. I don't know that he knew what he was doing at the time he was doing it. But I wanted to ask you this. You know, we know after Donald Trump got elected and still the Republicans are standing by him, we said that it seems apparent that something catastrophic has to happen before Republicans realize it and do something to back away. And I have to wonder if this attacking of Iran may be the start of that catastrophe.
I don't know because I think they're falling in line again um, because they're afraid of Trump. And a lot of them, let's face it, a lot of the people in Congress are dumb. They're dumb. They're really dumb. And they have no concept of history because they're selling us the same lies that the first Bush administration sold us to get into Iraq. I
It's the
mean,
same script. It's the same script as
same
what happened in
damn,
Iraq.
same damn script, same script. Um, to the T. The only difference is nuclear, WMD. And again, same thing. And they're trying to sell it. And I've watched them on the news, some of the highlights on the news shows today. Marco Rubio, dude, she asked a direct, do you have intelligence saying that they are close to having nuclear weapons or having uh, any capability? And he says, what does that mean? What do you mean? Do you know intelligence? And he got all defensive. And she's asking him, do you have intelligence to move on it? We don't need it. Well, she goes, you kind of need that if you have a military action.
Especially after
And
what we saw what happened to George W. Bush back in
correct.
Iraq. He basically said it's irrelevant whether we have evidence or not. Now, if he had evidence, he would have said yes and maybe even showed us. But he doesn't have evidence, so he did it. Tulsi Gabbard and other people said they don't have nuclear weapons. There's only one reason why we're in this war because Bibi Netanyahu played Donald Trump like he'd been trying to play people for
Mhm.
decades, presidents. He
Right.
did George W. Bush when it came to Iraq. He played Donald Trump here. So now we're at war protecting Israel. If you're cool with that, that's fine. But let's remember, Israel started the war. They
Yeah, they
bombed
did.
them first.
And again, this goes back when they bombed the first nuclear facilities in the 90s, 80s and 90s that Iran had built. But we have to talk about, and then well, going back to his, J.D. Vance was fucking embarrassing. That
Yeah.
was embarrassing. And of course, he went on with Kristen Welker, who's like basically, she's not a journalist. She's just a shill. She's useless, honestly, as any kind of journalistic integrity. But she asked him, "Why do you think?" And he said, "Because the other presidents are dumb, and Trump is a genius." What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, no shit.
He knows everything, and it goes back to this morning, which would be Sunday for y'all. Um, Pete Heskett's news conference. I woke up to that, and it was there, and I caught part of it. And his thing wasn't even talking about the strategic aspects of the mission, was
No.
just basically a freaking. praise Trump for all he does for us. Amen. I mean, that's the gist of it. That's what I heard. I mean, and I'm listening to him, and then they asked them. They said they asked the new Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I guess they found their generals,
Yeah.
the Air Force guy, and he goes, "Did he complete it?" And they said, "We're not sure. We haven't done an evaluation." Well, guess what? The news did an evaluation for you, and you fucking missed.
Yeah.
They already
Well,
have
well,
radar images
well,
that the facility wasn't there,
they
still there. But
Iran came out and said that they'd moved all the stuff before they bombed there. Now, under
right,
normal terms, you might say, well, Iran's probably lying. But let's be honest, Donald Trump has been talking about this for a fucking week, talking about the
right,
spots that needed to be bombed. He was making the threats. So it isn't crazy to think that Iran said, well, he'll probably do it. So let's move these fucking
just move
things.
this, and they did.
Do-
'Cause I
Donald
think
Trump
that
comes out and claims that he has a great success here and it just happened. So he had no way of knowing that. He was just bullshitting. And I'll be interested to find out if we ever really find out if it was a success. I don't know. I mean, if Donald Trump is in charge of uh, a process to do this, we know Donald Trump will fuck it up, and we know Pete Hegseth will fuck it up. We know
yeah,
Marco Rubio will fuck it up. So to think we had great success in Iran in this off the cuff thing that they decided to do, I'm not so confident.
I mean it's there's early satellite pictures showing that one of the facilities that they say were totally obliterated. Half the
Yeah,
building's still there.
yeah,
You fucking missed, and it's just I don't even believe that the amount of tomahawks they sent or the amount of planes they sent, because I'm thinking you sent 150 planes and what 80 tomahawks, and the damage doesn't seem as bad. I
yeah. That
mean,
seems
100
weird.
that's 150 aircraft, and but tomahawks alone would devastate an area like that. It'd be cratered. I mean, all you have to do is look what's going on in the Ukraine war, what the Russians do with their missiles, which aren't as sophisticated, but they're the same thing. And watch that damage. I haven't seen that damage. And the Iranians would show that off. They would really show that off if it had been
Yeah.
that way to make a point.
Well,
But
the thing about it is if you drop 30,000 pound bunker busters that can go 200 feet into the ground, there should be nothing left. That should be wiped out completely.
Mhm.
And you know, anytime Donald Trump talks, you don't know what he's telling you is if it's true or not. So we may never know what actually happened there. But I found it funny that Donald Trump, after dropping the bombs, he said, "Well, now I hope we can talk about some peace." Peace, motherfucker. You just bombed a country unprovoked. Not only do you have to worry about them retaliating, you got to worry about the rest of the world. The fucking
Well,
UN is meeting to talk about this shit.
and it's like that's literally that's mob boss shit. Where you go, okay, you got till 5 to give me my money. How's that feel? I
Yeah,
mean, that's what it was. But the point is that what happened to say then you go, well, if we retaliate, we'll have a greater force. Okay, guys, let's talk about what happened within 24 hours of that. The entire world, basically, including the British, I saw King Charles's remarks, condemned it.
yeah.
Um, the Iranians are meeting with the Chinese and the fucking Russians. The Russians aren't happy. Um, let's see what else. Oh, they're getting ready to shut off the Strait of Hormuz. So let's all talk about that now. Right now, on the night markets in the world, oil's going up. The Strait of Hormuz, 24% of world oil production goes through there. As soon as this happened, oil tankers were burning gas to get the hell out of the strait. They
Right.
they showed that they showed a mass exodus out of the Arabian Sea. And they don't. People say, well, they that's international water. Yeah, but they own like 30% is territorial waters of Iran. You don't need much
All you
to
have to do is
harass
send
shipping.
all you have to do is send two tankers out there and sink the fuckers, and nobody's getting
Yeah,
through. You don't have
And
to
the
have
thing
an
about it,
official shutdown. You can just obstruct it.
and people are going, well, then the U.S. military will react. Then what? You don't think that's going to raise prices again? You want to get into a battle with UN Navy for Iranian naval forces? Well, that's great. You're shutting off the world's oil. You think the world's not going to react to that when you start raising prices and people get shortages?
Right.
And here's the thing. As I said when this before this all started, my one of my biggest concerns is that war, like World War I, all it took was one act and everything fell. And to the point that everyone's like fighting, going, "Why are we fighting? What are we doing here?" I mean, Otto Bismarck said that. How did
Right.
you get here? I don't know. That's historical, guys. Look it up. And to me, it's like when you do something like this, it's a set of dominoes out there that are not evenly set. One might fall flat. Another might tip off another one, which tips off another one, tips off another one. Before you know it, in the world of shit. And they have no. They did this thinking, okay, they won't do anything because they know we're badass. No, this is the Middle fucking East for centuries, and I use that word centuries. There nothing but conflict has been tit for tat. Peace is a time to rearm for them. It's always been that way. And whenever Western countries get involved in the Middle East, we end up getting our asses handed to us. Now, because they wear you out. We found out with the Iraqis. We found that out in Afghanistan. The Russians found that out in Afghanistan. They don't even want to mess with that anymore.
Oh,
And
there's no point.
the point is like you did this with the express goal of thinking, okay, now if we do this, everyone will rally to the flag and they'll forget about the immigration raids or the budget or the economy falling apart. They will love Donald Trump. They will love me because to not love me is to be anti-American. And I'm going, and that's exactly the message I'm hearing from the MAGA fucks right now. If you don't
Yeah.
support him, if you're against him, I mean, it's what George Bush said. If you're not with us, you're against us when he did that speech.
Right.
Um, but here's the thing, and I say this, hey kiddo, don't jump on here. My wife's cat's in here. She's all anxious because no one's home. Um, if when the first Gulf War went off, when after 9/11, and I'm not talking about Desert Storm, um, we were smarting. We were pissed, and we were looking to punch someone in the mouth.
Right.
So for them to bring that information to us, we were going, oh hell no, we already been through this. So we went with it until we found out you fucking lied to us. And the problem is that once you got through and got rid of, you did regime change. We're going to talk about what Trump said earlier today. You turned us into an occupation army.
Right.
And that's when everything went sideways. And here's a story that I said on the live, and I'll tell everyone here. When I was working at my old job at the brewery, one of my colleagues' son, he was so proud of him, had graduated West Point about a year and a half before. He was a lieutenant. He was an artillery lieutenant, and he got involved in the Iraqi war. Well, he went from being an artillery lieutenant to heading a unit for searching for IEDs and rebels. That wasn't his training. And one morning we came in and I'm saying how he's okay, but his unit isn't. He goes, "What?" I go, "What happened?" They got caught by an IED. He lost three-quarters of his squad.
Wow.
His son was writing to him telling Dad, I gotta write these letters and I don't know what to do. He lost it because they weren't trained. So he went from trained artillery officer to breaking down doors and losing his unit. And all I mean, this is what is the future that you're trying to sell us again. And no one is buying it except the extreme idiots and the Republicans who want war for some reason, like Lindsey Graham. I don't know what
Yeah.
crawled up Lindsey Graham's ass, but God,
Well, given his track
uh,
record, could have been almost anything.
That was not intentional. Honestly, guys, honestly. But you see, I'm watching these guys trying to sell it. We're not buying it. No
Yeah.
one's buying it except
Let me
the
let me
exchange.
let me say this. Some people are asking why did it happen so quickly when he said he was going to think about it for 2 weeks. And I have a theory, and I'm going to see what you think. Donald Trump is reactionary. He's emotional. Somebody
Mhm.
strikes out at him, he's got to strike back harder. And it's always the case with him. When he came out and he had been pulled back a little bit and said, "You maybe better think about this shit." And he said, "Well, we'll consider it and make a decision within 2 weeks." And then 2 days later, he's bombing the piss out of them. My theory is this: once he said the 2 weeks, and the press started saying, "Well, you always say 2 weeks and you never come through." It was at that point he had to
Yeah.
prove them wrong and that he was right. And that's what precipitated him going into Iran and bombing them. Not because fear of nuclear weapons, but because he was shamed by people who caught him in his bullshit.
I mean, it could have been. He didn't have the 2 weeks. He goes, "What we're gonna do now?" You see, but that wouldn't make fucking sense. We're just gonna take a pause. We're gonna try to reach out to the Iranians one more time, see if we can
Right.
negotiate. He didn't have to put a timetable on it. And as the Iranians have said, we were at the table. You guys left. You guys left and decided to bomb us. And that's unfortunately the truth. Because the
Yeah.
Iranians had a again, this goes back because Donald Trump still has a hard on for Barack Obama.
Right.
He is 1/10 the man of Barack Obama. And it
Definitely.
bugs him. Anything that Obama, it irks him. And the nuclear agreement was one of it, but it was working. Now I saw Rick Wilson from the Lincoln Project talking about it. Unfortunately, with the Lincoln Project, and I will still say this, you guys, a part of it, brought us here because you were the impetus to the Republican um, propaganda machine. So it
Yeah.
bit you in the ass with Donald Trump. And he was saying that I didn't think it was going to work because of the regime. We're going to talk about the regime in a minute. And he said, I was surprised it worked. Yeah, of course you were surprised it worked because you're conservative at a core.
Right.
And anytime, you didn't get the negotiation, it made sense for them and for the Iranians at that point because they still could work on their nuclear power. They were just telling them, don't do a breeder reactor, don't overly enrich uranium to make a weapon. If you want nuclear power, that's fine, but don't use it to build a weapon. That's what they were saying. That was the deal. But Trump comes along because it didn't have his fucking name on it. It
Right.
was a bad deal. And he can't negotiate his way out of a fucking paper bag. He can't. He doesn't know
Well,
the
and the deal he wants to sign now is pretty much the same as what Barack Obama had. He wants to go in
yeah,
and bomb them and say, okay, let's be friends now and work out a deal. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with religious zealots and people who aren't afraid to die, that's not how this is going to play out. He doesn't get to bomb them and then no response. There's going to be a response one way or another, whether it be Hormuz
yeah.
shutting that down or lighting the Iraqi uh, gas fields or oil fields on fire,
Mhm.
or bombing military installments in and around the Middle East. Something's going to happen. And then
Yes,
we hear today that there are people talking in Iran saying there's sleeper cells in the
there's
United
no
States.
sniper cells.
You don't think
There's no,
so?
no, I think that was just they've heard that and they're just going, yeah, let's make them more paranoid. Let's let them
Well, no
eat
doubt
their own.
about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there, I mean, there's no sleeper cells
You
now.
don't think
And
there's a possibility of terroristic attacks in this country?
I could think there's a possibility of terrorists that are here that can come in and do harm, but I don't think that they've been lying in wait for decades to go after us.
Yeah,
You see
you're
what I'm saying?
probably right about that.
Yeah. The thing about it is when they said that, what's the first thing that came out of their mouth? Well, that's Biden's Obama fault because they let them in here because of their open borders.
Yeah.
It's always Biden's fault. It's always fucking Biden's fault when you fuck up. Okay? It's always, I mean, I'm like, they blamed him. Pete Hegseth blamed him for it too the other day. What did you guys did this? You set it off, and let's be practical, okay? Let's talk about real quick because you made something about religious zealots, okay? Let's talk about how that happened, okay? And I knew the general stuff, but I went in before we spoke, and the reason I went late because I spilled tea on my phone and I couldn't charge it. I had to dry it out. So I'm sorry. That was scary. Um, but I went and looked it up and what happened. There are pictures you can see because people have to see pictures of Iran and all that with women totally covered and all the religious stuff. In the 50s, late 40s and early 50s, the Iranians had a unbelievable democratic government.
Right.
They did it open, men, women, all of it, and they had oil money and they were using it. Now, the British were involved there because, like, the British may poo poo this, but you guys helped fuck this up, okay? And they were supposed to show royalties because they were working the fields, royalties with the Iranian government. The prime minister at the time said, "Hey, we need to do a book check because we don't think you think we're cheating us." Again, I'm going to paraphrase, guys, but it's the way Twister works. It's easier this way. I think we're cheating. You think we're cheating us? And the British said, "No, we're not going to look the books." And they go, "Why won't you let us in the book? Because you don't. Because we won't let you." Fine. So the Iranians, so they decide we're going to nationalize the government, the oil industry, and kick you guys out because we don't know what you're doing with our money. That's our oil. That's what you're doing. So the British then went all hardcore and got the U.S., the MI6 and CIA started working behind the scenes to get rid of the government. Now, the British had approached Truman about it and the CIA. Now, understand, Truman was a true American, and I'll see in this sense. When the FBI wanted to be part of international, wanted to be spy on Americans or spy overseas, he cut that shit off.
Yeah.
He told them no. That's why he developed the CIA to keep it separate from the FBI because he didn't trust J. Edgar Hoover to save his fucking life. He wasn't going to
Yeah.
give Hoover that much power. Um, so they approached them and the CIA to handle the Iranian problem. And Truman said, "No, I don't want the CIA going in involving with people's government, especially for something like this. You know, we want to support democracy. You want to pull democracy apart. No." But Eisenhower didn't never saw a government he did not like to drop.
Yeah.
And I mean, look what happened in Cuba, all these things that he did using the CIA as a tool. So they overturned the elected government using cutouts, false flags, paying off the military to overturn the government and installing the Shah of Pahlav. That man was a total and absolute horror. Secret
Yeah.
police, the beatings, and and he literally sold out the oil production to the British and the Americans, and they were taking 40% of profits from them. And the rest was a lot of it was going into the Shah's pocket. People were getting shit. So what happens? He went after the Khomeini went after him to try to stop what was going on. Is he a religious fanatic? I don't know. I think he turned that way because he saw the Americans and the British against him. I can't trust them. And so he latched onto it. And that's why in 79, when he came back after being exiled, it all turned really quickly. And
Yeah.
the reason that you have religious fanatics and no trust in the Americans, and all we see right now with this regime, listen to me, everybody, and pass it on to your MAGA grandpa or grandma. We fucking did it. We created Frankenstein. We created
Absolutely.
we created Frankenstein, and Frankenstein is back again. And the thing about it is, The regime is corrupt. We already know that. They've taken it to a new level. They're corrupt. The clerics in there make a lot of money from oil. They do. This is a proven fact. That regime is extremely corrupt. So unfortunately for the Iranian people, they traded one dictator for a religious dictator who are making money off their bodies.
Right.
But they will not trust the United States or the rest of the world because they fucked them and it's ingrained. So they will back these idiots, even though we saw what happened um, 2 years ago with the riots and the women. I mean, that one woman who wasn't wearing a hijab was taken away and tortured by the religious police, which led to riots of women for
Right.
a year. But you saw their reaction to it, which was, you think ICE was bad? That was worse. And the point I'm saying is, we created the monster. So here we go now with Donald Trump, who has no fucking idea about history, and all his people in there are fucking idiots. They totally don't
That
know
goes
what
without saying.
yeah. And now he's talking about regime change again. Dude, you just said the words to a people who were victimized by Americans changing their original regime to give them the Shah, which gave them this. Now it's on. You done fucked up. There is going to be no peace talks in this. There's going to be a retaliation. I mean, they're going to close the Hormuz. They're going to do something. Will it be a terrorist act in the United States? Probably, because the guy in charge of our looking out for terrorism is a 22-year-old fucking grocery clerk.
Yeah.
They cut it this fucking and where's the FBI chasing guys in taco stands right now around the country? Same with DHS. That's their job. They were created. DHS was created to protect the homeland from foreign and domestic terrorism. But now they're chasing people in parking lots who might have a fruit truck
Yeah.
or speaking Spanish. And now if it happens, if it happens, everyone's going to go crazy. And then here we go. I don't know how far more dominoes are going to drop because it's dealt on incompetence. And right now, people are pissed on the other side. And you use the word regime change. Again, not knowing the historical context, which you just did. That at
Well,
that point, people don't give a fuck because we've been there, done that.
the thing
I've
is with Donald Trump, he tends to say things he shouldn't say. He speaks too quickly and doesn't think about what he says. The idea of this regime change, that was something that people didn't want to be talking about. They didn't want to give the impression that we were going to go in there. But here's the problem with that: we had no intention of bombing Iran. But Donald Trump is easily played by Benjamin Netanyahu, who's been trying to do this with the American government for decades. Uh, he convinced Donald Trump to bomb them. Bibi Netanyahu's been talking about a regime change. So now Donald Trump is talking about it, and Donald Trump will get played again, and he'll buy right into whatever Bibi Netanyahu wants.
But how you do a regime change? There's only way to do a regime change.
A coup.
Well, not a coup, because that's a you people don't under people do not understand how solidified the Iranian government is. There is no rebel force to work with. There's some anti government people,
Yeah.
but there's nothing. The only way you do it is what we did in Iraq, and no one wants that unless I mean I will guarantee you if they try to make it, there ain't gonna be no Israeli soldiers on the ground.
No,
No.
hell no.
And the point is, I'm already seeing people talking about draft. Draft. I had
Yeah.
some stupid child woman. The trend of MAGA women, of Donald MAGA women sitting there either clapping or saying stupid things is starting to just make me sick on TikTok because they're all the majority of white women who have privilege and have no idea what they're talking about. And there was one lady who said, who must be maybe 28, saying that liberal men don't want to go to war because they're not patriots. They don't want to the draft because they won't go. Lady, let me make this clear. My sons are in their 20s. They're so fucking white you're having them.
Uh,
I'll die
well,
first
well,
for
here's the
them.
thing. Do we want to send American kids to die for Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu? There was no provocation to us. Do you really want to send your kids? And if there's a draft, you're going to see a big pushback by even MAGA. It's sad if that's what it takes to get them to fucking open their eyes. Some of these people are suggesting that they're all in, even though Donald Trump said there was no new wars. Now that he's started this war, and make no mistake, he started this war. Um, Iran hadn't done anything. They're not a great country. Their leadership is bad. Maybe they have some nuclear weapons. But when I listen to Trumplefuck say, you have to understand, Donald Trump didn't start a war. He stopped a war. Really? Because Israel bombed them first. They didn't provoke us at all. The only reason we're there is because Donald Trump is a butt buddy with Benjamin Netanyahu. There's some money in it for him or something for him. That's the only reason he did it. And he doesn't mind putting American young people's lives at risk.
And that's the thing. I was like, I saw those videos. He, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, they are under the illusion that the Iranians are going to go, oh yeah, we quit, you win. No,
No,
no. I mean,
not
we're.
going to happen.
I mean, what are you smoking? What are you taking? And again, it's just a lack of education and a lack of history. And here's the thing: you did. Someone put out a. Someone said Trump said everyone's in on it. No, he isn't. Your video about that poll that came out, 60 fucking percent of people are not down with this. 60%,
At least
and at
60.
least, and you can't bullshit us. You can't bullshit us or shame us into this bullshit because you know it and I know it. We've seen an unpopular war. We've seen what happens when there's an unpopular war in Vietnam. We've seen that. And that was mild compared to what'll set off here. You imagine if he goes, okay, we're extending the draft, age 18 and above report. Can you imagine the absolute response to that?
Yeah, it's
You
going to
think
be.
the No Kings parade was nothing? Because that's going to be pitchfork and torches, brother. And it's not going to be the kids; it's going to be the parents. Oh
Yeah,
hell no! You're not taking my child for your bullshit. No, it's on them, and they
you know,
really think it's going to work.
I wanted to bring something up because I keep hearing people talking about this all the time. We get Democrats, some Republicans saying, what Donald Trump is doing is illegal. Congress needs to declare war. And that is true. That is true. But I'm here to say that declaring war through Congress, not a thing. Apparently, that doesn't matter in Congress with regards to the Constitution. Because you know when the last time America or the Congress uh, declared war?
War
1942
two.
against Romania in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Korean War, no declaration of war,
Mm-hmm.
nothing from Congress, maybe some agreements. We had Vietnam, no declaration of war. We had the first Iraq thing, no declaration of war. The second Iraq, no declaration of war. Afghanistan, no declaration of war. So if people think this is their argument, well, what he did was illegal, they didn't declare war. Apparently, Congress doesn't give a shit about this because this has been going on for 60, 70 years.
Yeah, and because they use the words, we go to Korea, that was a police action.
It was a
Okay, so it
war.
wasn't a. Well, I know, but let's get the semantics because we're hearing that now. Police action. Vietnam was a police action. Okay, because the
Where
Vietnamese
50,000
South.
people died.
Yeah, exactly. Um, the Iraqi war that just got lost in translation. They just didn't give a fuck. They just let Bush
Yeah.
do it both times. Afghanistan, I still haven't figured out how the fuck we got involved in that. I mean, I guess we were chasing Bin Laden, but ended up staying to keep the. I mean, again, dominoes. So
You know
here
how
we are.
stupid Afghanistan was? For us to go into Afghanistan means we didn't pay attention to history because Russia had been in Afghanistan for how many years? I don't even know, 10 years, something like that.
Hmm.
They were fighting against Afghanistan, and guess what? Russia didn't win for the terrain and for the people and for all it is. So Russia goes in and fails. So then we walk in and fucking fail.
And that brought down the communist government
Yeah.
as the reaction because you had vets who were pissed. That led to the end of the Soviet Union. Unfortunately, they fell back into a weird version of their own czar, but that's
Yeah.
another day and another show. But right now, it's like what it is, and I think what frustrates everyone of of educated mind or have any kind of common motherfucking sense is they don't have any idea what they did. They really don't.
No,
I
I think
mean,
you're right. I think they're clueless as to how damaging this can be.
yeah, it's going to and that's uncharged. I mean, that's on top of is they're going to distract us from what's going on with ICE. Today, I was looking at some videos. Again, they've stepped it up to the point that they're pointing um, AR-15s and M16s at people now when they approach the trucks. They're getting to the point they're going to start shooting citizens. The
Third, I don't want to fuck.
Okay, we still on again?
We are still on
Okay,
again.
gotcha.
I didn't mean
So
to
one,
turn it back on, but I spilled some water here and I just wanted to make sure I got it. Okay.
okay.
Um,
Um,
all right, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty on my part. I think we fixed it by now, so we can continue on. I forgot where we were.
no,
We had a
we need to
pause
get
there.
that old. You remember the old test screen they used to put up? You
Yeah.
know, with the Indian head or the yeah
Yeah, the
standby.
target and all that shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we
them.
definitely should have done that. We were talking about
We're talking
the whole
about
concept behind
the
regime change and how
machine shame.
Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Marco
Yeah,
Rubio are
yeah.
saying things and they don't know anything about what they're talking about, and it all has some pretty serious international ramifications.
And their take is that the whole world is with Marco Rubio on Face the Nation said that the reporter asked that everyone has condemned this action, and he said no, they're with us. She goes, Mr. Secretary, they have condemned the action. Yeah, but that's not what they tell me in private. They want us to do it. What excuse me? I mean, uh, this is ignorance. It's not even, it's beyond gaslighting. It's reaching the state of ignorance for
I don't know
these
if it's
guys.
ignorance or
That's
just flat out lying. I mean, they do this all the time. They do something, they fuck up, and then they tell us, oh, we want to do that, we wanted to do that, or it's really good because this. And they'll flat out lie to your face, even though there's absolute proof that they're lying. So I think there certainly is some incompetence and ignorance there, but it's just how they do business. If it doesn't go right, they lie. If you get
uh,
8,500 people to come to a parade, you just tell everybody there's 250,000 people that came to the parade, even though there's evidence that shows the otherwise. That's just what they fucking do. I mean, they're that blatant about this shit.
and it's because it's worked for them. Let's be honest. I
With
mean,
some people, yeah,
Fox News has been on overdrive. First with the what's going on in Los Angeles and the so-called riots. And I mean, they're still hanging on that LA is burning. The ICE officer trying to bring in peace. It's the same bullshit. Meanwhile, they're running around just picking up anyone who speaks Spanish because they have a quota to fill. And that's from a guy who was a Claremont student who got picked up because he was objecting. to someone going at someone in a parking lot of a Home Depot, a Walmart.
Yeah.
They arrested him, took him, and here's the thing that I'm so bugged about. He was processed in the parking lot at Dodger Stadium. I thought they couldn't get there. And he kept hearing the other ICE agents go, how many people did you get? 30. That's great. We're meeting our quota. This is not about enforcement. This is
No.
about numbers. They're hunting. They're hunting people without warrant and without due process. And right now, this is what's going on in Iran is a distraction from what they're still doing in Los Angeles. And also the question I have for you guys, and everyone's going to start thinking about it. You just committed yourself to a military action, but you also said you have military troops on the ground in the United States to take care of other stuff. There's only so much personnel you have.
Yeah.
Also, where's the money coming from, bitch? Let's be
That's a
honest.
good question.
The money, where's the money coming from? And people are saying that they're cutting programs. Like one librarian says they cut programs, federal programs for libraries. Where's the money? He can't cut money. When money's allocated from Congress, you cannot take it back. But he's doing
Right.
that. They gave him that power. Where's the money going? Well, it's going into other things. Now, we all know that ICE is about to run out of money on June 30th.
Yeah.
And the idea was that they were going to take it from the defense budget. How are you going to take it from the defense budget when you're committed to something else? What are you going to
Well,
do?
and because Pete Hegseth hasn't provided a budget per se, so they can't allocate anything to him until he actually does something.
Yeah, I mean, but the budget is sitting there now. The budget is starting to worry me because Republicans in the Senate are literally creating something that's worse.
Yeah.
Um, and that's I don't know how they're justifying it somehow. One of the things that they have that they put in the budget or they've done, they're selling 100 million acres of public lands to create affordable housing, most of it in
Yeah.
national parks. Affordable housing, how? Where? In national parks? No, you're just going to sell that so some rich guy and JD Farmer on my live last night said, yeah, they're doing it around the Grand Tetons in Jackson Lake. Oh, okay, so they're getting more chateaus so they can push more people out. I mean, it's so blatant what they're doing, but with everything going on, we aren't paying attention to it. There's just so much to have to fight off. Because here's the thing, if they pass that bill, you're going to have a whole bunch of people without food and medical care. That's just going to make it worse. It's going
Well,
to make it worse.
how's this country going to feel? We're at war. We're sending young people to war to die. We've got an economy that's taken a shit, and people aren't going to be able to afford gas or food or anything like that. And on top of it, Donald Trump's got his secret police running around, grabbing people off the street, kidnapping them, and sending them out of the country. Even Trumplafucks have to be a little concerned about this if they're starting to feel this kind of pain.
But they're not sending them out of the country. They're detaining them in these concentration camps. That's what
Oh,
they
true.
are. I mean, in South Texas, they have one just designed for family, and literally the reports are people are fighting over water. They're
Oh,
because it's not federally run. It's run by this private prison who doesn't give a shit. They're
right.
just maximizing the profit. Literally, people don't have food. They don't have water. The children are getting sick. The abuse. Um, John Senator Ossoff here in Georgia, they have a report. They've been doing they've been doing sterilization on some of these people in some of these places.
Seriously?
Seriously, John Ossoff had a hearing. They are doing medical sterilizations on some of the women in custody. And it's not out there, but there's a video of Mr. Ossoff Senator Ossoff and a couple of people calling them out on it, but no one says anything. It's back to, and if you've heard about it, they've done this before, forced sterilizations in the 30s to save the population, to keep the genes pure. Um, and that's where we're getting. That's where we're at. This is when people say detention. No, they're concentration camps run by private companies that the federal government is paying them from our tax money to abuse people. And again, the argument for MAGA, well, they should have been here illegally. You should have done the process. Yeah, they did, but then you're arresting them when they're doing the process.
Right.
It's it's pure, absolute hate driven by one man whose dream of the United States is 100 million white people only. Basically, Stephen Miller wants ethnic cleansing. Period.
I'd like some
Ethnic
Stephen
cleansing.
Miller cleansing at this point. I'm curious, what have you heard about the people in Congress after this bombing? There have been some people that spoke out and said it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and all those things. What do you think the general response has been from Congress at this point?
Well, I mean, Senator Dodd from Connecticut made a statement. AOC went to the illegal thing, which, I mean, I think that's a moot point, as we discussed
But there's a
before.
lot of people in Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, aren't saying anything, right?
No, they're quiet. They're quiet because, again, while the rest of us are saying this is bullshit and we're not going to get involved in your fake patriotism, a lot of these guys are calculating, thinking, yeah, if I don't support the president in this war, I might look un-American and that might not work for me, my election. I really don't know if I should come out against it.
I
Because,
got I got a I got a bigger reason, and I think we could clarify those that aren't speaking out about this because it's clearly a violation of the law. It's clearly the wrong thing to do. We weren't provoked. Every member of Congress should be speaking out about this. The reason I think we don't have people speaking out about it, and I will say there have been people on TikTok that are going to say what I'm going to say, and they get in trouble. Oh, he's anti Semitic. I'm not anti Semitic. I'm talking about the facts. I'm talking about the truth. I want to know how many of those people who are quiet are getting big dollars from APAC.
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because now it's going to be a question, not going to be, you don't want to help because you're anti-Semitic. And yes, I've been hearing that. And
You want
they're
to think I'm
afraid of,
anti-Semitic? Go ahead.
I mean,
I
you
don't.
know what? Let
But
me,
when money's
it's not a,
involved, it's crooked.
yeah, it's corporate. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And like, I didn't hear Chuck Schumer saying a goddamn thing yet.
No, he
Hey,
gets
Chuck.
APAC.
Yeah. Look, Israel's not in danger for the Iranians. That's a fucking lie. We knew this was a fucking lie. Bibi Netanyahu has been pushing this lie for 30 fucking years,
Yeah.
every time. And we know that, we know it's not true. But if you come out in support of this, because you're getting paid by this Israeli, uh, I don't know what that is. Is that like an action pack, a political? Because I see that all the time. I
Yeah,
mean, are
it's a
they?
political pack. It's American, Israeli, something, something. It's basically supporting Israel, and I don't have a problem with supporting Israel, but at this point, my problem isn't with Israel any more than my problem is with this country. My problem is with the leadership in Israel.
Mhm.
Benjamin Netanyahu, who's basically Donald Trump in Israel, and you have a leader that's killing your own people by putting you at war with Hamas. Now, grant you the Hamas thing, I appreciate the fact that um, they attack because they were attacked first, right? They
Right,
had a
October
This is
7th.
what they said. They had a right to attack Hamas, and I will agree with that. The
Yes.
problem comes into being where they start killing innocent people who are in the middle, the people in Gaza. But let's take that look at that argument. They attacked us. We had a right to fight back. Who attacked Iran? Israel attacked
Israel
Iran.
did.
So Iran has every right, according to their way of thinking, to attack them back. And I got to tell you, one of the things that you're going to see is retribution for what Donald Trump did. They're going to go harder on Israel. And frankly,
Yes.
the only way Israel can beat Iran is with the help of Americans.
It, I get there. The I'm gonna and the fine line is this bullshit. Okay, and I'm already seeing the videos that the state of Israel was created by terrorists. No, dude, the state of Israel was created by people because the British didn't know what to do with the Jews at the time, and they
Right.
had no choice. That's the truth. Look it up. They did, even after the concentration camps came, the anti-Semitism within the British government kept those people in another set of camps after the war. And that's where it came from. That's where the impetus for what they did in order to create the state of Israel. It was, in their sense, and I would agree with it, at that point, was self-defense. The Palestinians and the Arabs in the time paid the price because the British government gave them no choice.
Right.
Then they basically, instead of recognizing different states and Israel, they recognized Israel and left everyone out to dry and made it worse. Okay. So from that standpoint, the Israelis are paranoid. I get it. Okay. But you have become like the people you fought against.
Right.
You are no different than the people who oppressed you.
Right.
Look at yourself in the mirror. And the funny thing about it, there are a lot of Arab Israeli citizens, Arab Jews in Israel.
Yeah. Right.
The problem is that the religious parties and the far right have kept a grip on the Knesset for so many years, feeding fear. And then you have the settlements, which are very far right. This is what happens. And what happened on October 7th was not a provocation to Hamas. The Netanyahu had been warned about this. There were people have warned him, but troops were not in that area. They were in the north, getting ready to push out West Bank people so they could expand the settlements. So when Hamas showed up and did that horrendous attack, and it was fucking horrendous, horrendous. We're talking mass murder on a scale. It wasn't even a military operation. It was mass murder. Look it up. This set this off. They knew it was going to be bad. The problem with Hamas, they thought that Israel would go to their normal ways and everyone would ban Israel and then they do it to Netanyahu. No, didn't work like that, guys. Didn't work like that. And you fed your people into that mob for yourself. So it raises what you're saying now. So now you have a political situation where politicians don't want to against Israel because they want to sound anti-Semitic, but they don't see the big picture. It's not about the Israeli people. Fuck, it's not even about the Palestinian people. It's about their leaderships.
Yeah.
And have taken advantage of the situation. Like everyone here, when you see people in Europe, they don't talk about the American people. They talk about the administration when they talk against the United States.
Let me ask you this.
They know we're
You,
fucked
you know more about the Bible and religion than I do. I know a little bit, but not
a
nearly as
little
much
bit,
as
but
you do.
go ahead.
Ted Cruz was on being interviewed, and he said it's important that we do this because we've got to bless and we've got to lift up Israel. That's what it says in the Bible. Now, here's my contention. Israel that we know now was created in 1948, well after the
Mm-hmm.
Bible was published. What is the
Mm-hmm.
difference between Israel today and Israel in the Bible? I don't mean
No,
to
no, no,
catch you
no,
off
no,
guard
no.
here.
No, you didn't catch no guard. The Israel in the Bible, if you kind of look at it, the Israel in the Bible was created the same way to an extent that the Israel in 1948 were created. If you think about what happened when, Jericho, when the walls fell, that was the Israelis killing Jerichans to take their land.
Right.
Let's be honest. They came in to the land of milk and honey and didn't ask for permission. They just took it. That's in the Bible. Sorry, guys, that's the truth. Um, so what happened in the Bible, if you think about it, the Israelis had problems for centuries from their neighbors because they kept fucking with their neighbors. Does that sound familiar? That's
Yeah.
why I kept saying you get in the Middle East. The only difference is right now.
But weren't the Israel, wasn't that a people and not a nation in the
Yeah,
Bible?
it's a people. They're Jewish. Yeah, Jewish people. And they created Israel.
They created
Um,
Israel in 1948. And
mhm,
here's the thing, whether they're based on religion or not. I've said this before, I like people until I don't like them anymore.
mhm,
And nowhere in deciding I don't like somebody is the criteria of what color they are, what religion they are, what sexual orientation, or what gender they are. That doesn't matter. But at the same time, if somebody is an asshole, the content of their character is shit, and they happen to
mhm,
be one of these marginalized groups, I still hate them.
mhm.
They
Yeah.
don't get a pass because they're part of that group. And that's what I'm saying about Israel. Israel is a nation of a lot of good people. I know people from Israel. I know Jewish people. I have no problem with those people because race and religion really makes no matter to me. But when you have a government that is corrupt, and we know Benjamin Netanyahu's corrupt because he was convicted of that shit. The only reason he's
Mhm.
not in jail because he's the fucking leader. When you have a leadership and a government that are doing shitty things, you don't get to say, well, he gets a pass because it's Israel. He's not Israel. He's in it for himself, like Donald
Yes.
Trump is, and you can be angry with Benjamin Netanyahu, and you can be angry with the people that feed money into our Congress to perpetuate people um, like Benjamin Netanyahu without dismissing being passing any
Anything.
disparity on to the Jewish people.
And that's the thing. We were at, and what I've seen a lot of videos already for some Arab and Palestinian creators who are jumping on this, um, saying the same thing. That they're using it for their own, the word Zionist and all that. And I'm going to say this straight up because I'm watching these people. These are the same people that basically said, "Don't vote for Kamala Harris," blah blah blah.
Right.
Dudes, go back into your hole
Yeah.
because you helped create this shit. See, all this chaos during the Biden administration, Israel did attack Iran. Remember? Bibi
Right.
Netanyahu had some kind of thing. He picked a fight with them. And then they came at him. Now, we, under the Biden administration, that military knocked everything down. But they turned around and told Netanyahu, knock your shit off. We're tired of doing this. And they told the Iranians, don't mess with it anymore. We'll handle it. And they did. No more attacks. Did you notice that? No
Mhm.
more attacks from Israel and Iran. The Iranians didn't attack Israel anymore because we just sat there under Joe Biden, who didn't fuck around and just said, look, I showed you what we can do. Let's just leave it like that. We're going to talk to him and calm him down. That's why Netanyahu hated any president other than Trump because he couldn't get away with his bullshit with them.
And all these,
But Biden was pushing him to the bitter end to stop his shit, to
well,
come to the table.
and that's the point with all these far left people or whoever was talking badly about Joe Biden called him Genocide Joe and all that stuff. The one thing that Joe Biden was doing that maybe people didn't recognize is he had Benjamin Netanyahu by the collar and said, "Motherfucker,
Right.
you better settle the fuck down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to pay. We're going to cut off money. We send them billions of dollars every year for
Yeah.
fucking nothing. But we're going to cut you off if you don't." Biden was holding him back. And what I warned
Yes.
people of prior to the election, if Donald Trump becomes president, Donald Trump's going to tell his buddy Benjamin Netanyahu, do whatever you fucking
But
want.
he did
And
it.
that's exactly
And
what he's doing.
and going back to you talking about the APAC and the political results, but on the other side, people were calling Joe Biden anti-Israel because he was holding some weapons.
Hmm.
Lindsey Graham was the first one to call him out, and because he had told him, "Don't do it," he did it, and then they basically they still gave him the weapons in the end because we had a commitment to Israel. Let me go and make this clear. We have a commitment to Israel as a democratic ally in the Middle East.
Right,
Going back, the difference between, you want to know the difference between biblical Israel and true Israel? Biblical Israel was a monarchy.
right,
Okay. This is a democratically run government, shitty at times, but still the only really democratic government in the Middle East.
right,
Look around each one of them. Syria doesn't even have a government. Jordan is the king, which is pretty much totalitarian. Egypt has one leader who's totalitarian. Lebanon, I don't know what the hell they have. I mean, you look around the area, Saudi Arabia, you know what that is. So you see that they're the one democratic ally in the Middle East, and we are not going to hang them out to dry. That was where, see, this is the problem with all the MAGAs and all the far lefters. They don't see the nuance in international relations. And I'm not saying like we were talking about earlier about regime change so we can benefit. I'm talking about uh, juggling a lot of things to 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 everyone where it doesn't get out of control. Because
right,
what you have with the far lefters, they want us to cut off Israel. Israel must suffer for what they did. Well, they never bring up what Hamas did whenever you talk to them. Whenever you bring up October 7th, oh, they were defending themselves. Really? Going there and butchering peaceful people, men, women, and children? When is that a military defense of your
right.
country? I'm waiting for an answer from these guys to this day, and they just want to cut Israel off. We can't do that. We have agreements, and it's still in American interest to have that relationship with Israel. Israel wants all the help to get rid of the Palestinians. No, you can do a two-state solution. You just don't want it because it infringes on your idea of taking that land for yourself. And we don't
Right,
want you to
exactly.
do it. And so here we are balancing that. And that's why when we talked about it during the election, Kamala talked about the election, they went deaf because they don't hear it because you're not telling what they want to hear. Donald Trump, on the other hand, I'll tell you anything you fucking want. Palestinians joined him on stages. They encouraged you to vote for him because he conned you, motherfuckers, and thinking he was going
Yeah.
to solve your problem. He is going to solve your problem. He's going to get rid of you. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's like, again, I'm going to go nerd on you. You know, in the book Dune, the one man who betrayed the Atreides is because they told him they kidnapped his wife and said you can see your wife again. Great. After he betrays his duties and family, they bring out his dead wife, and now you could join him and kill him to join her. That's what Trump did to you.
Yeah.
That's what Trump did to you. And you have the gall to still pick a fight with this shit and think you're going to get benefit by going after Israel. It's not Israel. It's Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government, the people in Israel have to do something about this because they're still under emergency powers. There's no elections because they did a joint coalition because they're in war. They're always at war now.
Yeah.
Two,
Well,
three
that's
years at war.
Well, the point of it is they're at war, so Benjamin Netanyahu can keep his job. That's
And
why he
I will,
perpetuates these wars and these
if
fights.
and if those senators decide on being taking that money and not seeing the thing, seeing the overall picture, and supporting Trump in this war, you ain't seen nothing yet on how pissed people are going to get.
Yeah.
Very, because the thing about it is, the only thing is that we know we've been conned again. You're conning us. And don't bring this in. If it's about, oh, we have to protect Israel, why? They started it.
Yeah.
This time, they fucking started it. There was no threat to them. That's an imaginary threat. And if Chuck Schumer comes out and hems and haws, his ass is, I'm going to be beyond pissed
Well, the
because
thing
I know
is,
what that's going to lead to.
thing is, he started it on purpose because he knew he could suck Donald Trump into it. Because in a head-to-head war, they're going to have problems against Iran, even though Israel has nukes. But they're a much smaller country. Iran would be tough to fight. He knew if
What
he started something, he could suck Donald Trump in, and that's the only
I
reason he
don't,
started that war.
I don't know if I mean, you're talking about a ground war. I hope not. I mean, I don't think the Iranians want to get into that. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't. See, that's the thing. Here we now. Right now, they're just throwing ordnance at one another. Okay. Now, people have died. We know this. There's some collateral damage. You know it. I know it. This is
Yeah.
what always happens. But from a standpoint of if it remains like that, we kind of can work with that. But if it gets to the next levels where we're going to have to commit or someone's going to commit people on the ground, then we're fucked.
Well,
Or
yeah,
naval vessels getting involved. That's
a,
bad.
a ground war sounds like something that nobody wants, even the Trump administration. But here's the problem: you don't know what Iran is going to do. If they go and bomb a military base or two or three, or if they start burning the oil fields in Iraq, or if they shut down uh, Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump is not the most stable motherfucker. All
No,
he knows is I'm going to intimidate you more and more and more. So Donald Trump could conceivably put boots on the ground there because that's his last resort.
where? In Tehran? Are you going to drop people in there? I mean, it's the, the, the hostage situation. They tried to do a rescue. It was an abject failure.
Yeah.
Now, I know the Carter administration is trying to do something because Reagan was using that to beat him about the head. And I know it was desperate. But he had been warned this has got too many problems, especially if you're going to go into Tehran, which they had to. Um, and it ended badly.
Yeah.
It will end badly. And
Oh,
it
absolutely.
will end badly. And the thing about it is, I know people on Wall Street right now are in fucking panic mode at this point. That's why Trump went said that little statement. Well, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on with war. No, Wall Street knows what war does to economies. Wall Street knows that if you fuck with Iran and they fuck with the oil, we're all screwed. Well, they know this, and already oil prices are going up. Tomorrow morning, you're going to see the stock market go, hell no, and freaking stiffen up and drop. We know this. I know this. And then if they start making moves to close off the strait where tankers don't want to move, and here's another thing, Mr. Global made a good, and again on TikTok about the oil industry. It's not only about the oil, it's about the tankers.
Yeah.
And they they get insurance per trip. And there's a certain percentage that they charge based on the value of the tanker. and then they put a different, then they put a percentage on top of it. That money is transferred to the and that's prepaid insurance, and
Right.
that money is transferred to the cost of oil. The only stipulation in each one of these motherfucking policies, except for the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
That's like if you get an automobile policy, they said, yeah, you're covered except for war, nuclear weapons, or some like, uh, civil unrest. They won't cover that. They're not going to cover that. So now these guys, it's not a point of getting the Strait of Hormuz, it's that they can't get insurance to move their tankers,
Right.
which means if something happens, they're shit out of luck. So what'll happen is that they're not going to go.
Right. So they don't even
And
have to block it. All they have to
no,
do is put some threats out there and they say, we're not
yeah,
going in there. And
we're not
the
going.
result is the same. No oil moves. And like you said,
And if you
20 to 24% of the oil in the world moves through the Strait of Hormuz.
And that's why all those that probably was ships on their way to get oil were turned around and told them to get the fuck out. They do not want their tankers stuck in there because if they get
Yeah.
in the middle of, and that's the thing, people are going, well, yeah, we'll just send in our destroyers to get them. Yeah, and let's say you get a couple or three tankers along the way,
Yeah.
collateral damage. How the fuck you think that's going to look? They want out of the way, and again, the no thought behind it other than being conned by Israel. And if they're going to support Trump for Israel, but without taking those other things into consideration, to be honest, we're all fucked. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's going to be another domino that leads to other things. And now the Chinese, do you know the Trump administration asked the Chinese to tell the Iranians not to close the Strait of Hormuz?
I was just going to bring that up.
Really?
It's like
Really?
they do something like this and they realize, oh shit, they could do this. So now JD Vance is out there saying, you need to China, you need to talk to them because it could affect you too. Tell them not to shut the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think Iran cares at this point? You had what, three 30,000 pound bombs blowing up your
Yeah.
shit, not to mention Tomahawk missiles and whatever else they fucking did. They're not in a mood to go to think reasonably about this. I
Yep.
mean, Iran and those people haven't been thought of as reasonable folks. We're talking about religious zealots for fuck's sake. They're gonna go wild on this shit.
Well, and also your country's been attacked. I mean,
Yeah,
again, go back to 911. We were not in a mood to hear shit at that
right,
point. Let's be honest. I mean, to take the religious element out of it, they're pissed. There was no reason for it because the Iranian foreign minister was correct. We were on the table. We were at the
right.
table waiting for an offer. You left and then dropped bombs on us. What do you want us to think? And the Chinese are going to be like when someone tells you to do something, you want to do it, and they go, "Yeah, can you do that?" Sure, I'll get back to you. The Chinese want to hang us out to dry. They are going to do that. They're just going to hang us out to dry because it benefits them. Period.
China for decades has wanted to destroy our economy with the tariffs and now this. Donald Trump has basically handed him a free pass to fucking do it.
Yeah. And the Chinese, let's be honest, and people keep forgetting, the Chinese are merchants. They've been merchants of the world for centuries.
Right.
I mean, they've always about trade and merchant, and that's what they've always been. Um, and with most reasonable American presidencies and administration, you work with the Chinese. They do your saber rattling, the Taiwanese thing, yeah, blah blah blah. They do that because they want to control their own people because they got their own domestic problems. But the Chinese don't want to go to war over Taiwan. Ain't good
No.
for business. It
Right.
isn't. I mean, they can deal with little brother for a while, make economics. I mean, they've been talking that shit for what? Since Mao Zedong and Taiwan came to fruition in the 40s?
Right. Right.
Come on. I mean, that's the thing. The words from the show Cabaret, money makes the world go round, It's true because
It's all about
this
money.
is it's all about money. It's economics. It's what drives everything. And when you have someone who fucks with economics and money, that's when you have chaos. And Trump, all this in 6 months, which feels to all of us 60 years, weighs on us, just just decided to rip everything up and just basically knock everything down and then look at the mess and go, who's going to clean this up?
Yeah.
Motherfucker. And oh, yeah, by the way, he did it. Which guy? The guy who used to live here. He didn't live here anymore. Well, he did it. I mean, that's where we're at. And I don't, and that's the frustrating thing. First of all, you got, you know, Pee Wee German with his racist view of America, picking up everyone who speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
You have economics run by two rich guys, um, in commerce and treasury who just want the big offices. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You have the DHS director who now should be looking at we need to protect ourselves from terrorism, domestic and possibly international. No, she's too busy cosplaying in front of a house to pick up some Mexican family because that makes her look good. The the Secretary of Defense is a drunk.
Yeah.
He's Otis. We have Otis running the motherfucking Department of Defense. I mean, I think every night on the weekends he's got his K. He locks himself in the jail, whatever they have in the Pentagon, and wakes them up on Monday.
You want to hear an
And you
interesting
don't
trivia fact about Otis?
go ahead.
Otis, for those of you that don't remember or are too young, we had the Andy Griffith show, and Andy was great, and he had a son, and he had Don Knotts, Barney
Ron
Fife,
Howard,
and
guys. Ron Howard.
all the characters in there, and it was a nice, very warm, very cuddly type show. And Otis was the town drunk, and he was affable, and he'd get drunk, and he'd come in and lock himself up in the jail. Think about this. All the people in Andy Griffith's show, Otis was the only one that was married because he referred to his wife. Everybody else was fucking
Yes,
single. That
that's
fucking weird or
true.
what?
Yeah, and there was the episode. Oh God, I'm gonna say there's the episode when he brought his wife to meet Andy. I remember that because he got
Right.
some award. I remember that. Yeah, I mean that's that. I mean that's where we're at. We've got Marco Rubio. Did you look at him during that speech? I thought he was just basically going to faint.
He
Now
looks
he's
like
got
a
a couple
hostage.
of, yeah, it that Pete Hesketh was just there. JD
He looked a
Vance,
little buzzed up. And JD Vance,
yeah, well,
let's talk about JD Vance because I heard somebody talk about something on TikTok and it sounds crazy, but nothing that you and I haven't talked about before. We talked about that Donald Trump would take the presidency, they'd bum rush him out the door and make JD Vance the president because he's a tech bro and that's what Peter Thiel and Elon Musk wanted. People are saying that it's interesting because for a long time we hadn't heard from JD Vance. He's just kind of back in the shadows. And now he's up front again. And if you saw him in that speech that um, Donald Trump gave, he was off to his right. The other two were off to his left. But he was standing there like he might have been a little disgusted, but he seemed to be a little more bucky than he usually is. He's typically a sycophantic little cuck normally, but he's taking on a different uh,
Tone,
stance these days. So people are
stance.
saying that means it's just a matter of time, and maybe this war is the reason for the Republicans to get rid of him and install J.D. Vance. Do you think they're thinking ahead that much? Do you think they're considering
I,
that?
I, I would say this: JD Vance should ask the last vice president what happened to him. Almost had him
Yeah.
say it. We know, you know, that even though Donald Trump might be what we see him, he has ears. And if that gets loose, or if they ever start to talk like that, good luck, JD.
Yeah.
Because understand, bottom line, I don't care what what those Republicans in the background are saying. In the White House, in the core, they are devoted to Donald Trump. You saw they had that evangelical revival in the White House.
Right.
And that was for Trump's sake. They see him as his God. He could literally take a dump on the altar and they would think that was holy. Okay, he probably has already.
Which is
But
crazy because he wears a diaper. That would never
right.
happen.
But the point being is they may say that, but remember, if you come for the king, you better get the king.
Right.
And the point is, if they start talking like that, JD Vance is going to get a talking to, and he's going to get a reminder. And the power behind the throne is Stephen Miller, and Stephen's getting what he wants. And if JD gets involved in it and tries to fuck this good thing up, JD is going to get a discussion because JD Vance is basically a big pile of clay,
Yeah. Oh,
and
he
he will
is.
mold himself to do whatever anyone else wants to satisfy himself. Be it being, I'm a liberal now and I care about poor people too. What we see
Yeah.
now, talking like he was in Los Angeles, talking Fox News points and calling mispronouncing the name of a sitting U.S. senator because he knows that benefits Trump. No, watching him and listening to him today, the way he praised Trump as a genius, he's Stave. And he's Stave until Trump falls off this mortal coil. That his best bet is to buy time because there will be no coup in that White House like that. It won't work because you got to understand these people are. Why do you think MAGA is twisting themselves now to justify what's going on?
Because,
Everything,
yeah.
every even it's not logical. Um, because that is their God.
Yeah.
And if you go and if he does anything, that's not just that's just heresy. And in those type of religions, heresy is only dealt with one way.
Yeah.
Period. So yeah, that's cute, guys. No, because you have to understand the core of these people in the White House are. Do you really think that Pam Bondi will turn on Donald Trump?
No, but she doesn't have anything to gain by turning on him. JD
Yeah.
Vance does. Here's the thing you got to understand is Donald Trump, if he's smart, he we know he's paranoid. He's got to have his antenna up because remember what Elon Musk said? Elon Musk is tied with Peter Thiel and JD Vance. He said Donald Trump needs to be removed and JD Vance need to be made the president. If Donald Trump is truly smart and as paranoid as I think, he's got to be thinking these guys are going to bum
Well, because
rush me out of this fucking place. He needs to
well,
get
he's
rid of
because he's
fucking JD Vance.
yeah, because he's a tech bro, and Peter Thiel pushed for JD Vance too. You know, Peter
Yeah.
Thiel is in the background lurking. Everyone's freaked out about they made those four tech bros lieutenant colonels in the army, which everyone's flipping out and going, who are what they're going to lead? Who's
Yeah.
going to follow them? What soldier's going to follow them? It was just a
Nobody.
joke. I mean, yay, they got a uniform. Congratulations. That's just stolen valor. I mean, enjoy it. I mean, it's again, we're just dealing with a fucking reality show with a bunch of cosplayers. And unfortunately, they have power. That's what we see right now running around Los Angeles. Those aren't no officers. They're fucking just cosplayers with weapons. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's why they cover their face. I mean, I saw one guy walk they had filmed one guy walk into a restaurant saying he was ICE. Dude had a beard out to here. He looked like someone from Duck Dynasty. You're not
Yeah.
a cop. You got this fucking, you know,
Beer
vest
belly
that's
and
to here.
yeah.
I mean, and and you're 5'4", 640, 440, dude. You're not a cop. That's why the guy
Yeah.
behind the said, "Get the fuck out. You're not a ICE. Show me your ID. Get out." See, that's the thing. And that's what we're dealing with. Is these guys have been allowed to take power, and they're using it, and the mechanics behind it is for goals that don't benefit the American people, only
Yeah.
benefit the few. How much longer they can hold on, I don't know. It's been 6 months of chaos, and they're
Right.
running out of money. They're getting pushback. July 4th is supposed to be the next protest, and already MAGA is flipping the fuck out, saying that 4th of July is about America. Yeah, but not your America. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Those people are doing that. If there's a no King's protest on the 4th of July, it's appropriate
Yeah.
because these people are saying, yeah, well, that's when we celebrate our Independence Day. Yeah, that's what they want to do. Independence from this. They don't get it. They keep trying to sell this version of a democracy that does not work, doesn't ever existed in America, ever. And we, as people, again, when you celebrate the 4th of July, there's no military involved, literally. It's just the people celebrating it at home or at parks. And when you have music and you have food and you have fireworks at the end. I don't see military marches like they try to do. Have you ever seen one? Maybe
No,
some
never.
old vets walking through a parade showing,
Yeah.
hey, this is
A
what I
color
fought
guard or
for,
something.
color guard or something, but never, ever anything like they tried to do. And that's the thing they keep missing. They keep saying, you're going to, we're going, no, they're going to stand up and go, look, this country is going to be what, 255, 254 coming up
Yeah.
years, and this motherfucker is trying to screw it up. And we're tired of it. And now it's going to get more complicated if like they pass that budget and people will lose their health care. People are going to be mad. If you think you're going to take people's kids to fight a war for someone else's ego, go fuck yourself. It's going to get worse. They can't. The more they do this, it just seems that they grip tighter, but it gets worse for them. It
Yeah. It
doesn't
gets
seem to
worse.
work. And what's next? What are you going to do? What I mean, you showed us the ultimate. What's next? Against everything you say you were going to do. He sold you guys so much bullshit because it was easy to listen to. And
And
the
you licked
press
it up.
was not, and they looked, and the press, when I was in the middle of the live, people were talking about, I wonder how the press said, and I think it was JD said, because yeah, their press is just going with their match. They love this. They're saying it's successful and all that. I go, yeah, because it's the ratings. They love this bullshit. They
Yeah.
think it's great. But they're finding out right now, a lot of us aren't listening to you. I'm not hearing anything from them. I'm not listening to them. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why they're. I don't see how much longer. I don't know if he'll get to the end of the year. This
I don't
regime.
know how that he can. I've always felt that way that something will happen. Either he'll get impeached, which would be the least
That ain't
likely,
gonna happen.
or he doesn't look well, he doesn't sound well. He's got a catheter, he's got braces. This guy is hanging by a thread physically and emotionally. I don't know
He
how much
just
longer he
not
can do
go.
it.
I mean, I saw that and go, man, he's not. And also, let's face it, that man's crazy.
He's a little
He's lost
crazy,
it.
yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, the things that he sends out, and the one thing that still pisses me off from Saturday was that no, you do not announce you bombed a country or what you did with a fucking social media post. Right
No,
after it happens, you come up on the television and go and do address the American people. Not 2 fucking hours later. You don't do that. That was
he's like a
cowardly.
child. He's like a
And
child.
I
He can't help himself. I got to tell
and
people how
that
great I am.
yeah, and then that press conference, the reason why I looked like shit, because they had to convince him to do it. That's why you had three. The last time I saw something addressed like that, which was probably Joe Biden talking about something, was anyone behind him? No,
Oh,
it was Joe Biden or Obama by themselves. He had to have those guys behind him because they literally had to push him into that position.
yeah.
They had to make him do it. He just wanted to use that truth or tweet or whatever and say, "Yeah, I did it. It's all done." And they probably said, "Spread, you got to arrest the American people." I don't wanna. Well, you gotta. The other people will be there with you. Okay, just read on the screen. Okay, that's exactly how that conversation went.
Yeah, pretty
You
much,
know
pretty
that.
much.
I mean, and
Pretty mu-
here we are. And and again, when we have these discussions, like I did the other night, we all sit there and go, we're in awe of the absolute chaos that we're sitting in, and we don't know how to address it
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, I have no advice for everyone other than watch your six, keep speaking out, and I getting to the point they're going to implode, and be ready for the shrapnel when they do.
I
Because
almost
I don't
feel
know
like
what else.
it's I almost feel like it's like when you have a fever and all you can do is take care of yourself as much as you can and wait for it to break. We're waiting for the fever to break. And it will break. It's just taken way longer than I thought it might.
I mean, I'm just. Are you really? I mean, because you're more of a following someone who's like a narcissist. Because my dad was kind of that, but he still cared about his family. He had issues. I
Yeah.
have issues, but he never honestly put himself above us. He had issues, but my dad always stepped up when he had to. But from what you've told me, you really didn't have that. Why do they? Why is he so dedicated to imploding like this? Does he think this is working? Is this a fantasy for him at this point?
You know, he's used to bullying his way through things and doing what he does worked for a long time. This is pretty common with narcissists. And I'm sorry to tell you that narcissists only one way: crash, implode, and destroy themselves. It's like they have a, it's like they want to sabotage themselves, but it's not really that. It's they get to a point when nothing they do works, so they just do everything. They're frantic, they're panicking, and they're doing stuff, and they make mistakes. And every time you deal with a malignant narcissist, I want to talk about that in a second too. Uh, they've got to crash and burn and do away with themselves. That's just the way it is.
So do they have? Because we're dealing with this, and I'm trying to get my mind around it because I lived in a household where, like, my mom was a nurse. She's empathetic. My dad really did step up for a lot of people. It's the way I live my life. Wow. But the one thing that always, when you have people like that, I avoid them. How do they get people? What do people get from supporting him? They're all these people around him. They can't like him. I know that. What does
No,
he
they
get out of
don't.
it? I mean, it's because they're narcissists themselves and he feeds them. I mean, are we going after the head? Maybe we should be going after the legs. I mean, I don't know when it comes to all this. Like Stephen
Well,
Miller.
yeah, yeah, we should be going after those folks, but we've got to be in a position to do it. We don't have power in Congress, but Donald Trump will crash and burn. There's just no way around it, and you can see him
Mhm.
doing it to himself now. He's doing everything wrong. He's pissing people off, even though in his own party. The results of what he does are failing, and eventually he's going to have nowhere to turn, no bullshit to spew, and that's when it ends. He either crashes and burns or he runs away, but Donald Trump is not in a position to run away because
So,
everybody's going to know who he is.
from your evaluation, again, I'm looking at this and this guy's just an evil fuck, which is true.
Yeah.
Um, is he desperate enough to literally say, I'm tired of these guys. Give me the codes. I want to end this now for the benefit of everyone.
I don't
Would
think
he
so.
go that far?
I don't think so. It's like when people say people that are narcissists that get in such a bad way, we've got to put them on a suicide watch. A narcissist will never kill themselves because they're the most important person in the world. They're not that type of person. And I think there's enough checks and balances still that he can't just open up a box and press a button and start. No, I don't see him doing that. I think there's enough people around him that will stop him at that point because it's going to kill everybody. That nobody wants to see
I
that
mean
happen.
but a narcissist would say, "Fuck it, if I can have it, no one can have it."
Yeah,
Or
but
is that just a psychopath?
well, that may be a psychopath, and he may be a psychopath too. You can never say never. I would hope that would not be the
I hope
problem,
not.
but I don't see him doing that. He's worried about is saving himself at this point. He doesn't care
Sure.
about other people. He's not worried about if I can't have it, no one else can, because no one else really comes into his mind. It's all about him, and he's like a rat caught in a corner, and he does whatever he has to do to stay alive, and he won't stay alive. Rats in a corner don't stay alive. I'm not going to say he's not dangerous, but he's only about himself right now, and he's in trouble, and
So
he knows it, and he's probably not healthy, so he's flailing right now.
so the if we track out what's happened in the last literally week, um, he went from the No Kings protest, which to when the same day that he had his parade that went really badly, which led to his lashing out with ICE, going to the G7 and getting embarrassed, which just basically, I think that just that is it me or did that kind of break him when he left
I think
Canada with his tail between his legs?
I think it did, and that's maybe the impetus for him wanting to bomb Iran. He felt like he was disrespected. People didn't take him seriously, so he had to show him how powerful he was. That kind of pushed him. And then when people got calmer and they said, you better stand back on this a little bit. This could be crazy. And he came out and said, I'm going to think about it for 2 weeks. And then he got beat up from the press. Well, you always say 2 weeks. And then he said, fuck it. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do whatever I have to do to make myself look good and make myself look right. And once again, he made the wrong, worst decision.
So
It's,
basically,
it's a
there's
fucking
a
mental
there's a
mess.
there's a comic book, and again, nerd, so deal with it, people. Called the it's a Batman comic book. Um, called it's the Joker book. One joke. Someone will come back to me, but there's a line in it where the Joker says, "All it takes is one bad day for you to come become me.
Yeah.
One bad day." And it's and you think about it, and I think Trump has had a lot of bad days in a
They're
row,
all bad days for Trump these days.
and now it's like now they're going to have to come tell him on Monday the oil prices have gone through the roof. Wall Street's on the phone. They need to talk to you about, first of all, what you did to the economy through this. And, we still don't have people picking fruit or picking farms because of you.
Yeah.
The world is turned on him. And now he can't, there's no way out of it for him other than doing something worse. God, I hope I'm wrong because that's just extrapolating one step after the another. Or I mean, I'm just
I
seeing someone who can't. I mean, when you get in a bad situation, and I've been in that, you react to it and you get upset. But the one thing I always taught myself is like, once you get over that, okay, what is my next step to get myself out of it or to keep some kind of balance?
yeah.
But he doesn't have that skill.
No, and he
He
doesn't
doesn't have
listen to
that
anybody.
skill. And he's right now he's going to face those really fast, and no one's going to help him. And he's going to make a decision that's going to I. What's he going to say now? What's he going to do? I mean, that's the hard thing because whatever he does affects the rest of us for a
Yeah,
very, very long time.
yeah, it does.
And we're being led by a madman, and that's scary. That lives on rules we don't understand.
No, absolutely
So,
right. We can't imagine what he's thinking or why
whew,
he's thinking it, so it's going to be weird. Uh, well, I'm going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer
yeah, it's
podcast.
been a while.
I want to thank you for taking the time to
I
join me
appreciate
tonight.
it.
We start the week off right with "Fucked Up America," and the two of us talking about it a little bit, and hopefully we get other people to talk about
Yeah,
it
I
too. And
don't
keep
know if America's fucked up. It's just that we allowed someone to fuck it up. And as someone finally said in a video, now it's our job to unfuck this. And
right,
that's what we're going to keep
exactly,
doing in the best we can.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, Will, thank you
um,
very much. Those of you listening.
quick
Oh, wait,
reminder.
before we do that,
Yeah, yeah,
want you to tell people how they can find you. You had your
yeah,
TikTok account banned permanently, and you're still
yeah.
out there in another location. So please tell us.
Yeah, they got me. Apparently, um, and I pissed off enough people. Yeah. So Binder 38 US is now gone at TikTok. I did the appeal. They said, yeah, whatever. So I am now Binder 38 US, the number two on TikTok. I'm now referring to as 2.0. I'm going to rebuild that little by little. Still on YouTube, Binder 38 US. They have YouTube's a little more tolerant for their
Yeah,
stuff. Um, and you can find me there. But if you get around to it, Binder 38 US, the number two, just follow. We can get back one step at a time, trying to tread carefully amongst this because I got a feeling that half the time the Eye of Sauron is on us. Someone made a comment during my last live on Saturday, which you can find on YouTube if you're interested. I uploaded it. Um, we kept getting the echo, and someone said that usually means someone's recording it to find what's
yeah,
going on. At that point, we started talking about traffic in LA, and the echo stopped. So I, half the time the Eye of Sauron is watching me because I pissed off enough people. I guess that's a good thing to an extent. But if you want to
yeah.
follow me, follow me. Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, I just want to say to the folks listening, you listen to Will here on the podcast, and we get a lot of great comments about Will. He's got a lot of good information, and um, he doesn't have his old account. If you followed him on TikTok before, make sure you get following him on his new TikTok account. If you don't follow him from before, you should check it out right now. You had
Yeah.
something like 4,000 followers at one point.
I was pushing 46 when they pulled the plug.
Okay,
So I
now
mean,
and right
I
now
thought the ironic. I got
you're
100,
under 200.
165. Correct.
All right,
Last
so you
count.
got homework. The people listening have homework. Get out there, follow
The irony
Will.
the irony was that it happened the last after our last podcast, right
I know,
after,
I
and then
know.
in the next day I got a deposit of $9, and I told you I guess they just paid me off $9.
Paid you off
I
and
was
say,
like,
hit the road, motherfucker.
"Yeah,
Um,
here, take it with you." So sure, why not?
I'm asking
But
you
yeah,
folks listening to the podcast, if you're on
I
TikTok,
appreciate
follow Will right away. It's
it.
Binder 38 US 2
The number
because
two.
the first one is gone. Don't worry about the
Yeah,
first
and
one anymore.
like I
Follow him on
said,
the
there's a
second
lot
one.
of numbers. Yeah, there's a lot of numbers. So if this goes again, we'll just keep doing because you know what? What Mike and I do is that I can't be on the streets physically.
Right.
We're old dudes, but old dudes still piss people off because we turn around when the young, we look at them and go, "Child, you have no idea what you just said, and you
Yeah.
didn't want this, but you're going to get it." So
Exactly.
and which I think is the best thing about this. And honestly, some of the people that follow you that literally want to do lives, those are some good people.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
those people really care about their country and their livelihood and the people around them. And social media is to an extent kind of fucked up, but those moments, those things is what make it worth it. Because as I think one of the people that you um, have interacted and I've interacted recently, Shelly from LA,
Yeah,
that she listened to us, but she never got involved. Now she got involved. It makes her feel better because she felt she was alone.
right,
That a lot of yeah, she's thinking I'm just whistling in the wind, and it made her feel better. So maybe the benefit of this mass communication that we have is that we can find people of like mind who understand that we're not alone in this fight. And because after the fight's over, we can talk about stuff that really makes us happy.
right.
So
Well,
I think that's the goal for all of us.
people ask me, you've had some success on TikTok and with the lives, we get a lot of people coming through there. And with the podcast, people have said, what's the secret to having good lives or podcast? And it's very simple. And I happened upon it only because that's what I wanted to do. Find people that are smart, find people
Mhm.
that are of a like mind, and give them a platform on your platform to talk. And that is the secret to it. I mean, sitting up here and talking about to myself over and over again, that can only go so far. It's when we get other people who have a like mind that are smart too and have a different perspective of things and give them a platform like
Yeah.
you or like the people we do with the live.
Yep.
That is the key to success. It's more of us talking, not just one guy trying to
Oh
play.
yeah. That first live or live and a half that had to do to get multi guest was painful.
Yeah,
Because you had to get to a certain amount before you get to the guest. And I'm like, man, that hurt because there's only so much in your voice. But it was nice to get people back interacting because when the announcement came down and he was doing it, everyone was watching and we all got to react at the same time. And it was like, good, we're not alone. We all seen the same bullshit. And
right,
that was
right,
cathartic for a lot of us because we were like, what do we do? Oh, okay, you see what I see. Cool. That I got it. Thank you. So there are benefits and also cat videos, which is
absolutely.
always the best in the world. But thanks,
Well,
Mike,
those of
again.
you,
And
no
I
problem,
appreciate you
no
guys.
problem. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.